Youth. We have Cynthia Mormile and Nick Chen. So give them a warm welcome.
All right. So this is Tag Your It, an update to Orange County's Recycling Quality Improvement Program. So we are going, first I'll go over the agenda real quick. We'll do a quick organizational overview. I'm going to talk about the Recycling Quality Improvement Program, or RQIP for short, as we call it. Cynthia is going to talk about the cart tagging initiative, and Dr. Chen here is going to go into the data analysis and research. All right, oopsie. Oh, no, we're good. Okay. So Orange County, Florida is home to 1.4 million residents, and on any given day, we have far more than that, with over 76 million visitors per year. That is a lot of people making a lot of garbage, and that poses unique challenges to solid waste management and recycling. The Orange County landfill is one of the largest publicly owned landfills in the state, at 5,000 acres with Class 1, and that should actually be Class 3 disposal areas. The division also operates the Porter and McLeod transfer stations, managing 4,000 tons of waste daily. Additional services include a household hazardous waste and waste tire program. The division contracts the weekly collection of garbage, recycling large items, and yard waste across 6 collection zones, and residents use 95-gallon and 65-gallon carts for single-stream recycling, generating approximately 55,000 to 65,000 tons annually. So residential recycling is huge, and quality matters. So in 2016, the county made the popular transition to automated curbside collection in carts. An unintended consequence was a significant increase in recycling contamination. When recyclables were collected in bins, drivers could easily identify contamination, tag it, and move on. We rarely had any rejected loads since the program began in 1990. With these large carts, residents can fit all kinds of things inside, like entire kitchen sinks, and drivers can no longer see what they're collecting. It quickly became clear that our quarterly newsletters saying what and what not to recycle were no longer going to be enough. So in 2018, we launched a pilot to see, hey, is tagging something that could work? So we did an 8-week program in a neighborhood of about 600 homes with pen, paper, clipboard, and a lot of water because we did it in the summer for some reason. We started out with 3 tags. A good try, a great job, and an oops, and gave 3 chances before rejecting a cart for repeated contamination. It was a decent success, but we learned through additional pilots that the good try tag was confusing. People were okay with being C students, and 3 chances were far too many. And pictured there is a stained, torn piece of history. The note on there says belt broke. The belts carried all of our supplies, so that was a really difficult day. So we teamed up with the Recycling Partnership, thankfully received a couple rounds of grants. We expanded and refined the program to be 4-week phases because we learned if people are going to change their behavior, they're going to do so after 1 or 2 tags. We reduced the number of tags to 2, great job for positive reinforcement, and oops for contamination. And for enforcement, 1 warning before rejection. And the results were great. By the end of stage 3, every household had been a part of a tagging phase at least once. 18% of households, we learned, were already recycling pretty well, and the threshold for clean recycling was pretty darn high. You could only have 2 or 3 unacceptable items. 49% improved and stayed improved, 26% were inconsistent, so it's unclear if the recycling message really stuck, and just 3% were not responsive to tagging. So they either continued to set out a contaminated cart or got tagged for rejection and stopped setting out. This cart photo here is one of our all-time favorites. That is 96 gallons of snack mix that did not pass the audit. So the current iteration of the program is stage 4, where the focus is on the routes with the highest contamination, requiring new strategies and tactics. From the data collected, we know that higher contamination areas have lower set-out rates, with most lower than 50%. So a 4-week tagging phase does not provide adequate time and opportunity on these lower set-out rates. So if a household's only setting out once or twice a month, 4 weeks is not enough. So stage 4 phases are 8 weeks long. Another strategic adjustment in stage 4 was moving just beyond looking if a cart is clean or contaminated, and looking at contamination severity. So households still receive either a great job or oops tag, but internally we classify contamination as either moderate or severe. And this adjustment revealed important nuances in behavior change. Even on our historically most contaminated routes, our week 1 clean recycling rate is 79%. So if most households are recycling correctly, why are we still seeing some rejected loads? And the answer, or one of the answers, is that some households are really good at recycling really bad. These households tend to set out more frequently and have fuller carts. So looking at severity also changed how we evaluate success. Households don't always move directly from severe contamination to clean recycling. They often move from severe contamination to moderate contamination first. So first we'll see the removal of items like diapers, food garbage, things like that. And later, we'll see the removal of wish cycling items like styrofoam, paper plates, forks, etc. And we validated this through a special program in our South Apopka neighborhood, where we tagged the same households twice during stage 4. And more than 90% of households that had been severely contaminated during the earlier phase improved when we returned nearly a year later. And the severe contamination we observed the second time, it was not the same household. It was actually mostly new construction. So that reinforced that many of these households just needed enough time and opportunity to be reached. And yay, some graphs. So in stage 4, we know that nearly 80% of households are recycling right, but 14% of households have severe contamination. And you can see that the severe contamination rate remains pretty consistent over the 8 weeks. Not only that, it becomes increasingly concentrated among the same households. So the graphic on the right shows new severe setouts versus repeat severe setouts over the 8-week phase. So at first glance, this trend might seem obvious. As we continue monitoring the same households over multiple weeks, we'd expect some severe contaminators to become repeat severe contaminators. However, if severe contamination were simply random or occasional behavior, we would continue seeing mostly new severe households each week. Instead, what we see is severe contamination, or severe contaminators, severe contaminators becoming increasingly concentrated among a smaller group of households. So you can see by the end there, most of the severe contamination is coming from these same households. So what does that tell us? That these groups of households may need stronger interventions. So, the Recycling Quality Improvement Program has yielded improvements in recycling quality. In addition to tagging education, improvements with the processing contractor and general recycling markets, over 90% of our loads have been accepted for recycling. Whereas back when we first transitioned to single stream, we were seeing over 90% going to the landfill. So quite an improvement. With the vast amount of data collected, we've been able to do some incredible research projects like what Dr. Chen is going to talk about. And we've been able to better target our resources and make more informed program decisions. So through ArcWIP, we've also had a direct presence in neighborhoods, showing communities and showing our residents that recycling quality does matter. The photos here are from a neighborhood with a lot of college students, frat houses, and their recycling was awful. It was really bad. And so we realized tagging these carts, rejecting these carts, it's not gonna do anything. So we identified what are the barriers here that's keeping them from doing it right. And we noticed there's not enough space, they have not enough garbage carts, they have too many recycling carts. And by directly addressing these barriers, their recycling quality improved immensely. And over a year later, we see that improvement has sustained. And on that note, I will pass it to Cynthia, our consultant, without whom we could not do this work.
This one works or not? Okay, I'll just use it. All right, so thank you, Jessica. I'm with MSW Consultants, and as she mentioned, we have had the contract to actually do the feet on the street for them since 2019, the first round, and then it's been 3-year contracts, and we've been successful now on our 3rd contract with them. So in the beginning, it was a big effort, as she mentioned, with the thanks of funding from the recycling partnership. But then, so pre and post pandemic, obviously it was around 2020, right, when that happened. And so we were going gangbusters, as you'll see as we go along. But we do the cart monitoring, recruitment and onboarding training. That all changed a lot after COVID as well, if you're in any kind of operation where you're staffing folks. So that changed some things, but then we do the daily operations, feet on the street, waste and recyclables composition studies that they have had us do over the course of the different contracts. So this points out in the beginning, when we ramped up 8 cart monitors in December 2019, and that was building towards doing 14. Now they have to prepare all the routes that they want us to go on. So Jessica has worked probably in her sleep over the years on preparing all the routes for us, but in the beginning was very intense, number of cart monitors going out and about. Really the strongest in January of 2020 with 14 cart monitors, 7 different teams deploying in different directions. And then along comes March 2020, we had 6 cart monitors, and I think, was that after the first round of your TRP funding, I think, whenever it downsized to 6. And so then I think they might have just been awarded a 2nd round of funding, but then the COVID break for about 6 months, and that gave them time to plan all the new routes coming up. So we went from 6 cart monitors for quite a while until January 2021, downsized to 4, which would be two teams going out. We did have 4 people going out, I think, in a vehicle when it's feasible at the beginning to just try to have efficient, but then after COVID, part of the distancing and everything, we kept with the 2 people, and that's how it remains today. So since May of 2024, 1 team on the ground, and as she said, by that point we had passed each house at least once, sometimes multiple times when they've had us go back to different neighborhoods. So the job of assessing the cart is to lift the lid, look in there and make a trained judgment on how many items are not appropriate to be in the cart, and they make the decision, mark the tag, apply the tag, have very different approaches week by week for the rejections, because people were onto that right away. If we turned the cart, then they would just go out and turn it back. They started learning on that. So different approaches by the week on how to deal with the rejection so that the hauler knew to leave that cart. About 350 to 500 households per day. It varies a lot in the summer because of the heat. It's the lower, and in the winter maybe gets up to 500, 600 houses. But we have always used the used to be Smart City app from Rubicon. It's changed names a few times, but then Routeware bought those folks out, and so we have used that on this project. We have done some other cart monitoring for a couple other communities, and used the Recyclist at the time app, which was the TRP was using, and then we've actually developed fairly recently our own that would be usable on other projects as well. But from on the left-hand side of the screen there, it shows in the early days of various types of contaminants, and then whether it was a not out or clean recycling, but we were tracking by, it looks like eight or so contaminants. But then when she changed focus on this 8 weeks since May of 2024, stage 4 we call it, it became how full is this car, how severe, as she explained, and wish cycling versus garbage is something that the mild contamination, a small amount of wish cycling, maybe they make an adjustment. Higher amount of wish cycling or more severe types of contaminants become moderate contamination, and then mostly garbage like the snack mix or similar things. Unlikely case of wish cycling, they just out and out put their garbage in there, severe contamination. So this is where it ties into a lot of the behavior she was saying that has been noticed. So we do a variety of reporting each phase for the different dynamics that we see out on the route. The set out, the participation route, when it's set out at least once for a 4 or 8 week program, as she mentioned, it's pretty high participation, 82% we've had since May of 2024, but a set out rate may be, that's the number placed out on any given day, so that's not as high, so that's why they feel like the 8 weeks is actually going to have a better outcome and has proven to have a better outcome on the different behaviors. So when looking at the contaminants, as you see on the left-hand side graph, it shows the different ones of plastic bags, film, and wrap has always been a very prevalent category, and then bagged recyclables or other contaminants, which may have been like the electronics or maybe yard waste at the time. But then since stage 4, it's all focusing on the plastic bags, film, or wrap, and you can see how over the 8-week period from left to right on the red bars where that continues to be reducing over the time period, but I think maybe in every phase we've ever done, it decreases by a pretty significant amount. This is just an example of when we do a larger report for them, not necessarily on every phase, but during a large period where we look at overall the improvement of the households over time. So the green bar would be the first week set out high, pretty high, good recycling, and then the very bottom red, let's see if I can get it. No? Did you get, oh, there's one. So like, here's the rejection down here, week 1, but week 2, after they've had an initial oops with this yellow, then it gets, the rejections come along, and then by the time you get to the end, you can see there's still that fair amount of people that had refused to change the behavior. So I think this is a good example of the flow and the effectiveness of the program, and then as she said, as they started seeing the correlation of the accepted loads going forward, it continues today. So the severe contamination, which became the focus of this stage 4, chronic is considered 2 or more severe tags in 8 weeks, and the periodic, just 1 severe tag in 8 weeks. So it could be they get a 1 severe and then they've changed their behavior. But the point of the numbers that Jessica was providing is just that you've got this lower amount of people that are chronic abusers and make a significant impact. So 4% of households classified as a chronic severe, but they generate 63% of all severe setouts. So that can make a big impact on the load. 90% of households had no severe contamination, so they are recycling correctly or responding to our feedback when we're giving this on the street. So that's a good point, but you still want to figure out how to change the behavior of those that just refuse, right? Chronic severe has high intensity of contamination, such as 2.73 setouts per household in an 8-week session, and almost 50% of the setouts being severe. So you can see 2.73 setouts per household making 50% of the severe setouts. So it has been a mix of, how many times can you say contamination and severe? That, and then just to see the impact of it and how to get it across to these folks. So I guess my next section is about other data gathering that we've been able to do for them along the time, because we've got the people on the street. How many other opportunities do they have? I mean, my background is in the solid waste management from a city perspective for about 20 years, and then the last 10 years working for MSW Consultants, you have a chance to make an impact by having somebody pass the house every week, and that's solid waste. You know, a lot of city operations or county operations try to work together and say, if you see a pothole, you see a broken, street sign missing, whatever, report it. But this is like a case where we're the contractor out there. What else could we be doing while we're out there to be beneficial to you? But the composition audits were something that they have our team of waste sort, waste composition staff come in for about a week to do audits. We did the initial one before the program started, and several months into it, the post audit, which that was funded through TRP, and then we've done another round of those audits during the time, and then to compare the post audit with an acceptable workload. So their process is that they dump a load, they have someone scoring the load, or waste management through the contractor. So it depends on which facility it's dumping at, but they would score a load. So at the beginning, very low acceptance, but we went in and did an audit once we knew the load was accepted, identify that, and then do the audit. So we were comparing the things, and you can see by the light, the most faint bar is the pre-RKIP program. The middle color is the post, and the darker bar is the accepted load. So you can see the difference that it made from post or pre to post, and then we were lining up pretty good with the accepted, not quite as clean as the accepted, but they were making the difference over the course of time. We also, I'm not sure at which point we started, but tracking the fullness of the garbage and recycling carts. So during the process, we're in the second contract with the county. They start working on rebidding their collection contract for the zone hauling that she mentioned. So I guess since 2016, they're looking at ways, should we change anything about our program? People want different things, but what else? Some of the days they don't collect the trash on the same day as the recycling. Is that making a difference here in the contamination? Once a week collection on everything. So and also with the bulk, you'll see some of that. But we started tracking the fullness of the garbage and the recycling cart. So the bottom table shows total set outs with the recycling cart. When the trash and recycling was put out on the same day, we had a contamination percentage of about 26% on those recycling cart audited. But then if it's a recycling cart only day, where their trash is on a different day of the week, 6%, 5.5% to 6% higher on the contamination. So the folks have an opportunity putting a cart at the curb, put some trash in possibly. That's the theory there. And then if it's both carts out and a garbage cart is not full by our tracking of the fullness, 18.5% contamination. But if both carts are out and the garbage cart is greater than or equal to 75% full, 26% contamination. So that's like 8% more, 7.5%, 8% more, because they're running out of garbage space, right? So that's a theory that has sort of been proven out here. And then we also distributed surveys for a good section of time that was in conjunction with Dr. Chen's research, where we're out in the field, so we're dropping the surveys for a certain number of days. I think we also assisted with some of her university multifamily targeted areas when kind of replacing or trying to special educate those folks. The assessing the cart condition, that was one of our earlier things that we added on, because again, can they read the labels on top? We got your education there. Are you not getting the education? Do you not see what you're not supposed to be putting in this cart? So we reported unreadable labels if they had damaged lids or wheels or garbage carts. So that's another way that we were able to help their program keep on top of the condition of things. And then when they were ramping up for the new hauling contract RFP, bulky set out data, how often are people putting bulk out, to what extreme? It did happen to fall on an area a little while after hurricanes, so we did keep track of whether it appeared to be extra hurricane bulk or just regular bulk. But about 5% set out rate was found, and just the small bulk that could have fit in the cart was really 1.2 of that. So that's another thing. You're sending a bulk truck out that is not necessary if they have enough garbage capacity in their cart, or even knew they should put it in their cart. So our takeaways on the manual tagging is cost and labor challenges, but is an excellent way to provide house-specific customized feedback. I know some of you have had in-house programs. I know of other ones across the country that have labor on board to do that, or even volunteer efforts for short time frames. But it's a good way to provide house-specific customized feedback. It is not maybe the most cost-effective in the world of AI that's coming along, but we really feel like the curbside collection system must address the human behavior, because 65 to 80% of the households are responsive to the feedback, showing the improved recycling behaviors, but you've got to be able to deal with the misbehaviors by taking away their cart. And I can say that because I'm the contractor, and I know they have that in their sites. It's just a matter of there's a lot of politics involved sometimes. So they're working on it, but what we would say is, from our company's perspective in working on these, several of these programs, is that universal AI monitoring from the truck camera systems is coming and is in certain places already. It's the lowest cost way if they can identify that, but those folks may not be responsive to what they get in the email. They're obviously already got their cart tipped if you go ahead and tip it, that's when you're catching the information on your cameras. But then you've identified those households, so then you maybe go back out with some cart monitoring and give them that one-on-one feedback, or maybe turn the cart next time before the truck gets to it. And then the ability to remove the carts from misbehaviors, because there are several across the country that have those programs where it's, they're removing the carts, they need to earn them back. It's not something you're paying your solid waste management fee, but that doesn't mean you get to use the recycling as another garbage cart. So that's our thoughts, and happy to turn it over now, Dr. Chen.
Thank you. This is Nick. I'm from University of Central Florida. I'm an associate professor working in the Civil Environmental Engineering Department. First, I want to thank Orange County and MSW Consultant to collect the data so to make the research happen for this stage. So this research is actually funded by Hinckley Center and collaborate with Orange County and MSW Consultant to really study our roles, to really study connecting the recycling, cart tagging data with the recycling behavior, that is the demographic conditions, and our thoughts is to better use the resources for future cart tagging and see if we can be more targeted to use cart tagging for educational programs. And also we are also developing AI image analysis tool to utilize in certain locations such as the transfer stations to identify the key items such as lithium battery. Everybody talk about that, and we can show some of the results. First, I want to just show some results. We use the data from the first 4 weeks data from the cart tagging, and we use the we have 8 weeks, and we use the first 4 weeks as the data we collected and finished in 2 years ago. We use the data to connect with the census tract, so which is open source data you can actually obtain from online and have the knowledge about demographic conditions in more relatively aggregated area. So for the tracks, usually you will have 4,000 houses, and the demographic conditions summarize the 4,000 houses. And also a nice thing about cart tagging, you have the geocode, so you can have the address, and relatively you can compare the cart tagging behavior and also how the demographic conditions look like. So one of the visible results you can see from the figure, the top one, the week one of the rejected tag rates versus the bottom one, week 4. So you can see like the darker color means like a higher rejection rate, but the lighter color means a cleaner recycles. So we will see a visible differences after the cart tagging from week 1 to week 4. Also, if we connect it to see how this demographic condition affect the recycling behavior. So this is a week 1 data. You can see there's several, actually we analyzed 29 different impact factors, not only these 2 factors. We are showing this is because they have the strongest impact there. So we'll see the education and incomes. Those are showing strong impact to the rejection rates at different census tract. That indicates some of the incomes and education are important factors we can look at for future card tagging. Also, we look at the card tagging from week 1 to week 4 as well, so we can compare some of these different behaviors. So some people did a very good job to have the perform all the way good job, the best performers. We also see some improvers, people from erratic performers, and also we do see some people have regression and also worse performers that they are not doing good job all the time. So we see this tell us like the card tagging can have some benefit to certain type of the groups. I mean, not for everybody, so it's not one solution fits all. So we might be able to connect this to some of these demographic conditions to look at how things, which area should we especially target to get the best effective results there, because card tagging, sorry, is also cost. You have some cost for card tagging for educational programs. After this, we developed a machine learning model, which is an AI model that you can fit all this data from the demographic conditions as well as the card tagging results into the model to especially training the model that can develop some predictions. So for example, like if we use the Orange County data and we can find a similar county with relatively similar geographical locations, Central Florida, or with the relatively similar demographic conditions, we can use this to better understand if we conduct future card tagging, what's the expected outcomes you will have for different communities. That's for the card tagging. Addition to that, we also developed some AI image tool to help the county, especially identify the lithium battery containing products and also non-recyclables in the recycling stream. We understand right now there are some, especially the haulers are also doing this, but we know like and there are also some certain challenges to force them to identify the contaminants from their side. So I think the waste goes to a transfer station. Then we are facing some issues related to lithium battery safety issue or some non-recyclables in the contamination for contamination. So we're developing the AI tools to especially help the county in the transfer station to identify those lithium battery containing products and also some certain non-recyclables. We currently have developed a model for 10-ish different non-recyclable products in the model, so we can provide some of the identification there. So I wanted to show some results in the next few slides. But from the slide here, you will see our objective is to use the camera that is installed by the Orange County, which Orange County helped us to capture those images. And we want to use the images to and train the model, and then we want to validate the model so that the county staff members can use the model to identify those like hazardous waste and also non-recyclables in the offices. So that's our objective here. So we did a few trainings so far, and pretty much very good right now for the targeted items we are looking at. So on your left-hand side, we have trained model with single items. I think that's typically a lot of the existing AI companies are doing, is training the model with single items, the pictures with different angles there. And also we train with different lighting environmental conditions that mimic the transfer station at different lighting conditions like daylight or in afternoon, morning, or you can have some different weather conditions there that affect the lighting conditions that you capture the images. And also we have some synthetic images because sometimes you cannot train the model with enough images. You can synthetic the images to improve the number. Then I think the more importantly, we can see the detection accuracy there. We use a few items for field analysis and lab analysis. So you can see laptops, tablets, cell phones, if they're containing lithium batteries, if people threw into the recycling streams, we can identify them by pretty much a good accuracy. Sometimes the smaller items that have a lower accuracy because the resolution of the image needs to be improved. So hopefully later, by the end of this project, we can improve that to a better accuracy there. As well as the plastic bags, you can see that we can capture the plastic bags in the identification of the AI model. Also, what our next step, I think, Cynthia mentioned, we have also conducted the survey in 2 years ago. So we have done this in 2 rounds. One round with the targeted routes, which we from our card tagging we find out some of the routes have high contamination, and we go since their company and team go on the street, distribute flyers, and also we distribute flyers to the overall counties, entire counties, to understand the perspective from the residents on how to improve and what's the barrier of the recycling. So you will see majorly major 4 points are showing here. Some mixed motivation, skepticism, surveys, collection issues, as well as like a confusion, lack of practical information, community influences. Those are things coming from the residents' side. So I think several key things we also think about is like to motivate the residents how to improve their recycling motivation. So provide some economical benefits, environmental benefits, like messages including like environmental economical benefits there. As well as the community engagement. We want to, in this phase, distribute some of the flyers or messages to this residents, give them some motivation from economical, environmental, and community perspectives there. So right now we're still working on this and discussing how to move on with the motivational messages. So key takeaways. From our research, I think we have a few takeaways. One is the effective of the card tagging program depends on the demographic conditions. So you can see from the income, educational levels, they change based on several different factors. We also see the targeted data-driven strategies can be optimized, can optimize even interventions by focusing resources on the area with the highest potential. That means the card tagging can be improved by understanding demographic conditions. Third, we also using the survey to find out several barriers for the set-out and contaminations. Then, last but not least, we are right now currently developing AI-based image for contamination and lithium battery products. And we believe this will further help us to reduce the contamination and reduce the safety issue in the operation. So just want to show the contact of 3 of us. So if you have any questions, there's a time for question and answer. And also, if you have further questions, please feel free to email us. Thank you so much.
So, this is now the time for questions. So if you have any questions about presentation, we'll get the mic going. Got one in the back over here.
Hey, so if you think about, the rejection rate of loads of recyclables being like 95% and then flipping that on its head to 95% accepted, how many tons of recyclables over the 6-year pilot curbside tagging program do you think you've prevented from going to the Orange County landfill?
I wish I was better at mental math off the top of my head. That's a great question. Yeah, but if you estimate about how many tons we get per year, the 55,000 to 65,000 tons, and we started this in, 2019, and we didn't immediately flip that number, to 90%. It definitely took some time, but I'd like to think we saved a good amount of tons from the landfill. But I'd have to get back to you on that, on exactly how many you're able to divert.
Question over here. While that question is queuing up, let me ask a question as well. So this is actually for Jessica. How can recycling education programs balance education and enforcement when addressing households that repeatedly contaminate a cart?
So with repeated contamination, it's hard because you don't want to immediately, go to punishment, right? Because it can, people might not want to participate. It can, discourage people from participation. So for example, in those neighborhoods where, we almost wanted to throw our hands up when we did those 4-week programs, like, why? We're here for 4 weeks, why is it so bad? And then we realized, we need to be here for 8 weeks. And then that's when people really started to respond, and they just needed enough time and opportunity and the right messaging. We also switched to empathetic messaging. We changed up the messaging on our tags and realized some people were more responsive to the messaging. So I think it's understanding your residents and not immediately jumping to fines or removing the carts, but seeing what are those barriers exactly.
Okay, thank you. Question over there.
Yeah, Sheriff Woody, that was a good segue, thank you. But so you were talking earlier, and this question's for anybody, you were talking earlier about human behavior, and you just talked about punishment. Do you reward anybody for most improved or no contamination over a period of time? Do they get like a golden trash can or get something on the can? I mean, people would like that, people would get into it. I'm just wondering, are you doing anything on that side?
That's a great question. We do use still to this day the great job tag for the positive reinforcement. I think people really like that.
Yeah.
They will have people be like, oh, I got the great job tag, we're at events. But yeah, I heard some places will do like gift card giveaways and stuff if you get, so many great job tags. But yeah, we don't really do anything big for our excellent recycling, and maybe we should. That's a good point. We should.
What do the residents have to do to get their carts put back out? Like in Greenthorne, North Carolina, they have to go to a counseling session with the solid waste coordinator. For real, they have to sit down, they have to sign a pledge. They said that it really works to encourage the people because they have to see you face to face and like really get into it. But I was just wondering what the case was for.
So how do I get a job as a recycling therapist? Because it sounds like a pretty good gig, okay? You have to come and see me and I have to sign off that you're like capable of recycling
You
correctly. Okay, I like this.
So we currently, do not remove carts
Okay.
for repeated bad behavior.
It's just the bad stickers.
Yeah,
They're
you
tagged.
just get rejected, so
Okay.
you have to, clean out your cart, remove the contamination, and then we'll collect it. So, but once we leave after that 8 weeks, and the lid's closed, it'll get collected.
Gotcha.
But that's a great point where if we do implement, hopefully, cart removal, for those that, 14% that doesn't respond, something like that would be great where, hey, you need to take a course or do something to earn your recycling privileges back.
Maybe we could get Harrison Ford for a counselor?
What are the politics associated with removing repeated offenders' cards? Because, I mean, if you're going to continue to do it, you should probably be charged more for trash because you're not recycling.
And the congregation said, amen.
Look at my section
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah, it's a challenge. So Orange County, we actually have a mandatory recycling ordinance. Great idea, in theory. Yeah, so we actually might have to change our ordinance, which is a process. Because everyone is entitled to recycling, but it doesn't say anywhere in there that, it does say for the designated materials, not for whatever you want in your recycling container. So it potentially involves updating the ordinance. We'll need backing in order to accomplish that. And it's tough with the way our billing is done because it's through taxes, right? So everyone gets charged through their bill. So if you're not recycling, it's not just a simple, hey, you're gonna get charged like a garbage only fee. So I'm sort of, personally envisioning that, hey, if we gotta go pick up your recycling cart, we should be able to charge you something, right? We gotta go pick it up, we gotta go empty it. Like, this should not be rewarded, because the last thing we want is people calling, hey, I don't wanna recycle anyway, come get my cart. We don't wanna reward that kind of behavior, so there's gonna be a lot of discussions and, doing a lot of research of programs throughout the country that do take carts. I know there's some places in Florida that take it. It's all over the place in terms of how they do it. So obviously we'll have to tailor something that works for our county, but absolutely based on how long we've been doing this, there are just folks that no matter what we do, they're not gonna do it correctly, so.
Sue Flack will take your cart real quick. Test her.
And I would just say on a broader level, not just Orange County, people should look at this as a materials management fee, right? You're not making it disappear if you don't collect it as recycling, you're managing it as trash or whatever the other material is. So it's been something over 20, 30 years that you see, if we have a recycling program, we need them to pay $4 more or $6, whatever a month. And it's like, it's going to be managed by your municipality one way or the other. I've had several communities that did not continue recycling after COVID or after losing their MRF or fire or whatever, and the community wants a refund. I was like, are you taking your recyclables elsewhere? Where are they going? It's just something that I've always felt like should be, the broader picture is that you're responsible for managing the materials, so it's going to go on one stream or the next. It doesn't make it any cheaper these days to make it go into trash than recycling, but it's something, I don't remember how it is on your bill. Does it actually have a line item for recycling versus for garbage? No, see, it's a materials management, so if they're not putting it out, you're qualified to have a recycling card if we want you to recycle, but if you don't, it's gonna go in your garbage anyway, so that's part of the fee. We're managing your materials, just my
Entitlement. Do we have any other questions or? But got a question in the back. While he's going over there, let me ask Dr. Chen a question. So we've talked a lot about the lithium battery issue today. Quick question about that. For AI-based contamination and lithium battery detection tools, what are the biggest challenges that you anticipate in moving from the controlled or test image accuracy that you showed us to reliable field deployment, like in a real transfer station or a curbside collection condition?
Yeah, thank you. So I think, so since right now we're doing this in the transfer station, I mean, a lot of truck company are doing that during the collection. I think it's way more easier when you collect it because you have a small amount of waste, you can separate them easily. But once you go to the transfer station, it's not very easy because things are hiding. You can just see possibly a small corner or maybe a small angle from there. So what we developed the model right now is to tackle that challenge, especially in the transfer station, to look at the if you have a tablet or a cell phone that's especially hiding in the pile, also can you identify those things? But we have been trying this with the field tests as well as images we synthetically created by putting those things in different scenarios there. I think right now like 90% of accuracy is good for now, but also like it depends on how the resolution of the images. I think Orange County helped us a lot generously to help to provide the camera that provide good resolution, so make us things happen. So I think resolution and also the angle of the products there is challenging. So.
This is the future where we're all going, so those are important AI questions. And the question that was back here, go ahead.
I just had a quick question on the repeated offenders. How do you delineate between the property owner who's going to be getting that notice versus the tenant, especially in a high turnover area? How have you been, based on industry or based on specific examples, how do you delineate, or what kind of recommendations would you have for that?
Oh, that's a good question. So when we did that university project where there were a lot of the frat houses, we ended up sending letters with the contamination photos to both the property owners and whoever lived at the address to make sure that we were reaching whoever owned that property and whoever actually lived there. So we would pull, because we can see in our system who owns it, and then who lives there, see if the names matched up. So you know, we can also look in the census data and see what neighborhoods do have a higher percentage of renters, and take that into account when it comes to education. But that is something we did do in that case. Did that answer your question? Okay, cool.
Outstanding, and I believe we have actually reached the end of our session. So let's give these guys a round of applause.